second largest continent. Hello, I'm Alyson Grange. A very warm welcome from Durban, South Africa. We get you the news and the newsmakers from Africa. From elections to climate change to innovations and opportunities. As the world's attention shifts, we report from Africa, the heart of the global south. Join me every weekday live on First Post. Hello and welcome to First Post Africa, where we get you the top stories from the continent and from across the world. I'm Alyson Grange, coming to you live from Durban, South Africa. First, let's take a look at the headlines. Vladimir Putin says Russia won't make concessions, but is ready to make reasonable compromises on the Ukraine conflict as he holds talks with Turkey's Erdogan. With 10 days to go for the U.S. presidential election, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump pace up campaign blitz. Harris campaigns with Obama in Georgia and will share the stage with Beyoncé in Houston, while Trump picks Joe Rogan. At least 3 journalists were killed and several others injured as Israel launches strikes in southern Lebanon. The U.S. pushes for urgent diplomatic resolution. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi hosts German Chancellor Olaf Scholz as the two countries strengthen defense, security and economic ties. And SpaceX's Crew 8 astronauts returned to Earth on the Dragon spacecraft from the International Space Station after conducting new scientific research to advance human exploration beyond low Earth orbit. Hello and welcome. Our top focus is on Mozambique, where violence and unrest have taken over the streets amid rising discontent over the presidential election result. Several protesters gathered in cities across the country as Mozambique's National Election Commission declared the ruling Frelimo party candidate as the winner of the October 9th presidential elections. This extends almost 5-decade rule of the Frelimo party, which has been accused by the opposition of vote fraud.
Daniel Chapo obtained 4,902,762 votes. That's 70.67%. Venancio Antonio Bila Monlane obtained 1,402,517 votes. That accounts for 20.42%.
As the Election Commission declared the results days after voting, hundreds of protesters hit the streets in various cities, including the capital of Maputo. Police fired tear gas to disperse the crowd that was seen pelting stones and setting tyres on fire. Some protesters also sought to block the road leading from the capital to the South African border. Police said that clashes with protesters had left several injured across the country and 1 dead in Nampula in the north. As per reports, internet has also been blocked in the country.
We did not vote for these leeches. We did not vote for this man. We are tired. Our fathers built their life on hard times so that we have a place to sleep. We are still here after 39 to 40 years with our sons still living in the same place as our fathers because of Frelimo.
Frelimo's Daniel Chapo is now officially the president-elect, and he succeeds President Filipe Nyusi to become Mozambique's 5th head of state since its independence from Portugal in 1975. President Nyusi is stepping down after serving 2 terms, the maximum tenure permitted according to the constitution. Mozambique's president-elect Chapo is the former provincial governor who has no prior experience in national politics. Earlier, he also worked as a radio presenter. At the age of 47, Chapo will be the first president born after independence in 1975.
Each one of us worked for this victory. You don't win elections by just being a candidate. The Frelimo party machine wins elections. You don't win elections by being a one-man show.
However, the candidate of Mozambique's opposition Podemos party, Venancio Mondlane, has claimed himself as the true election winner. He has called for nationwide protests to denounce the results. Tensions have been running high in the southern African country since the 9th of October polls. The situation exacerbated after two opposition figures who were preparing a legal case to contest the result on behalf of the opposition candidate Mondlane were shot dead in the capital last week. Mondlane has accused the security forces of the attack and claims he could be next. Police say that they have launched an investigation into the killings. Frelimo party has condemned the incident as a macabre act, but outrage against the party has been growing. Frelimo party, which led Mozambique's anti-colonial struggle against Portuguese rule and has been ruling Mozambique since 1975 after fighting a civil war from 1976 to 1992 against the anti-communist resistance. It won Mozambique's first democratic election in 1994, but the party has been accused of electoral fraud to maintain its grip on power, the allegations which it denies. Last year, several people were killed in clashes after municipal elections were won by Frelimo. Several observers have pointed out that the recent elections in Mozambique, which saw only 44% voter turnout, were not free and fair. The European Union mission has reported that irregularities during counting and alteration of results have also been happening at the local and district level. These problems have marred most polls since Frelimo first allowed multi-party elections in 1994. Mozambique's electoral body has not commented on these allegations. Now, will a continued rule by the Frelimo party plunge the country into further political chaos? Now, for more on this, we have with us Frelimo Onofre, a social activist and consultant who is joining us live from Chimoio, Mozambique. Thank you for being with us. Can you take us through the latest situation on the ground?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Good afternoon. Well, current situation now, people are still on the streets. They are on strike, nationwide strike, led by Venancio Mondlane, the Podemos party leader. So right now I'm talking from a shop where I came to get Wi-Fi because the government has managed to cut internet, so people cannot organize or listen to the instructions from the opposition leader for them. So right now we do not have internet, and communication is a bit difficult, but demonstrations continue throughout the country, and today is the third day that people are still on the streets. They are on strike due to the rigged elections and the fraud that has happened during the 2024 elections.
Yeah. And Freo, what are the primary drivers behind the unrest following these election results? How have the opposition groups responded to Frelimo's victory?
Well, the main opposition parties, which are Podemos, MDM, and Frelimo, they do not accept the results because they say that the election commission, the election was fraudulent. They do not accept, and the main opposition party, Podemos, as you can see, has asked all the Mozambicans to the streets to demonstrate against this elections, and they say that they're going to ask the constitutional court to I'm gonna say them to not accept these
Yeah.
elections in Mozambique.
Right. And considering Mozambique's history of political strife, what risks of prolonged unrest are there, and how can the government and the opposition find common ground?
Come again? You didn't get your question. Come again?
So considering the history of political strife, what are the risks of the prolonged unrest? And can the government and the opposition find common ground?
Okay. Well, risks of prolonged unrest, in fact, given to Mozambique history, political strife, there is a significant risk that prolonged unrest could lead to a deeper polarization and potentially violent confrontations. The persistence of disputes over elections may result on weakened institutions and also may have a bad results or consequence to the economy if this situation persists. And also nowadays many shops are closed. The economy is closed, and people, even though they are on strike, they feel that their life is stopped, and basic food is not available. And because some demonstrators are also attacking the stores, shops, and also looting the stores. That's why if this situation prolongs, it may have a very bad impact on the economy.
Yeah. Right. Freo, thank you very much for joining us on Firstpost Africa. Thank you for bringing us the latest coming out of Mozambique.
Thank you for having me.
And shifting focus to West Africa, a region that is turning into a global hub of terrorism. While terrorists for years have been mostly operating in the Sahelian nations that include Burkina Faso, Niger and Mali, reports suggest that they have found a safe haven beyond the Sahelian borders. They are now reportedly carrying out their operations from Ghana, one of the few remaining stable democracies in Africa. As per reports, al-Qaeda-linked terrorists in Burkina Faso are discreetly using northern Ghana as a logistical and medical rear base to sustain their insurgency. They are crossing over and coming to Ghana to stock up on food, fuel, and even explosives. And some of them are also reportedly getting medical treatment in Ghana's hospitals. The reports that cite Ghana security officials suggest that while authorities in Ghana are aware of this, they have mostly turned a blind eye to these movements. Why so? Because so far, Ghana has not become a victim of their deadly attacks. Some of these officials have even said that the terrorists won't destroy the place where they sleep. However, they have acknowledged that this crossover risks allowing terrorists to make Ghana their next hub, who have waged decade-long insurgency in its Sahelian neighbors. Now, Ghana's ambassador to Burkina Faso has also admitted that terrorists are taking advantage of porous borders between the two nations and are seeing Ghana as a safe haven. However, he denied that authorities are not doing anything about it and are working with Burkina Faso to flush them out. Now, Ghana shares a 600-kilometer border with Burkina Faso, which is at the heart of an insurgency that has killed thousands and displaced millions. Now, as per Global Terrorism Index this year, Burkina Faso has become the country with the highest impact from terrorism, with deaths spiking by 68%. The country has lost control over half of its territory to a pro-Al-Qaeda group known as the JNIM. Terrorist groups are present in multiple nations in the Sahel nations, including Burkina Faso's neighbors of Mali and Niger. And growing frustration over heavy losses in clashes with terrorists triggered coups in all three countries since 2020. Juntas have expelled Western military support and turned to Russia for help instead. Western nations have since refocused their efforts in Benin, Togo, Ghana and the Ivory Coast, which border the Sahel. Ghana, seen as a strong democracy in Africa, has a close relationship with Western nations, especially the UK and the US. The country will hold its next presidential election on the 7th of December. While Ghana has not witnessed any major terrorist attack, experts say this could be part of the plan of the terrorist groups who do not want to disrupt supply lines and places of rest, as well as not provoking a relatively strong army. However, some members of the al-Qaeda-linked JNIM group had earlier said that they are aiming to push into other countries of West Africa. And some experts have also said that these terrorists could be recruiting members in Ghana. So it could not be long before Ghana possibly finds itself in the grip of violence and extremism. Let's now turn our focus to Mauritius, where a wiretapping scandal has been rocking the Indian Ocean nation just weeks ahead of the general elections. Reports indicate that phone conversations of politicians, journalists, civil society members and even foreign diplomats have been recorded and leaked online in Mauritius. It is believed that since the 18th of October, around 20 conversations have been leaked on social media. According to Reports Without Borders, which is better known by its French acronym, the RSF, at least 5 well-known journalists have been affected by these leaks, who confirmed the authenticity of the conversations leaked. And for Nawaz Nurbaks, who is the news director of Radio Plus, which is one of the leading private radio stations in the Indian Ocean nation, it was a shock when he came across his telephone conversation with a lawyer being broadcast on social media platform Facebook on the 19th of October. Reports suggest that the lawyer was calling the radio station head to inquire about additional information shortly after the journalist had published and exposed an advisor to Prime Minister Pravin Kumar Jugnauth, who had allegedly forged an anonymous letter. Now, Prime Minister Jugnauth and police officials have claimed that these audio excerpts were manipulated using artificial intelligence. Reports show that Mauritius Telecom, a company that provides information and communication services to citizens and businesses, had also come out with a statement earlier this week, clarifying that it had not intercepted, monitored, or manipulated any communication in any way. However, the affected journalists and RSF have criticized the government for hiding behind the artificial intelligence argument. Now, they feel the government is embarrassed to come forward and accept its mistake, and they have also called for an independent investigation into the matter. Now, it is important to note that the wiretapping scandal is coming at a crucial point for Mauritius, a country that is considered a stable democracy in the region. It is going to hold general elections on the 10th of November, and several parties, including Prime Minister Pravin Jugnauth-led Militant Socialist Movement, the former Prime Minister Navin Ramgoolam-led Labour Party, and the Mauritian Militant Movement, are going to contest it. In the elections held to the 70-member National Assembly in 2019, Prime Minister Jugnauth had won 36 seats and had formed the government by partnering with several other smaller parties. Yet, a report from a South African media outlet in 2019 showed that former Prime Minister Navichandra Rangoolam had publicly alleged that Prime Minister Jugnauth had hired an Israeli IT company to hack social media accounts of the opposition candidates. While it is not clearly known who is behind these leaks, the wiretapping scandal in Mauritius has raised several questions. Was the government really trying to manipulate and undermine the elections? Was the government conducting a massive surveillance? And if the government isn't involved, then who is behind the leaks? While criticism on leaders and their policies is widely seen as a hallmark of any democracy, In the Central African country of Cameroon, it doesn't seem so. An old video of popular Cameroonian singer Simon Lonkana Agno, widely known as Longu Longu, has now surfaced on social media that shows him being tortured, allegedly by military security agents, after he was arrested in 2019. Reports suggest that the video was shared by Longu Longu himself. In the video, the singer appears with his hands cuffed behind his back and sitting on the floor in just his undergarments. Above his feet is a chair, and some men are seen placing their shod feet on the artist's shins. Now, despite his desperate pleas for the beatings to stop, the men continue to strike. The video that is now out in the public has triggered widespread outrage on social media. Users have criticized the Cameroonian government on the sorry state of affairs and cracked down on opposition voices. Some users have further gone ahead and asked how many more need to die for the citizens to realize that President Paul Biya must go. According to reports, Cameroonian military officials have also taken note of the video and have ordered an investigation into the matter. So who is Cameroonian singer Simon Lonkana Agno, and why was he being tortured? 51-year-old Longu Longu became known after 2001 when he released his album titled Ayo Africa. Now, he is known for making songs that highlight issues such as bad governance, colonialism, and other social ills. The musician has extensively criticized Cameroon's President Paul Biya, who has been in power for nearly 42 years in the Central African country. His songs, such as 50 Years in Power, have decried the genocracy in the continent and are seen as an attack on the regimes. Hence, among his followers, he is often called the ambassador of social causes. So why was Longu Longu arrested? Now, the Cameroonian singer was arrested in 2019 after he posted a video that said that President Paul Biya had rigged the 2018 election. The artist said opposition leader Maurice Kamto of the Cameroonian Renaissance Movement, or the CRM, was the rightful winner of the polls. But at that time, the Constitutional Council had rejected Kamto's demand for a rerun because of the alleged rigging. And now we have spoken several times in recent days about who President Paul Biya is. The 91-year-old Paul Biya has been the president of Cameroon since 1982. He is the only leader that most Cameroonians know and is the second president of the cocoa and oil-producing country. The nonagenarian president is also the second longest-serving leader in Africa after Equatorial Guinea's head of state. President Biya has been criticized for taking extended stays abroad, especially in Switzerland, and is also accused by human rights groups of intimidating opponents to strengthen his grip on political power. After the video surfaced online, CRM's Maurice Kamto also took to his social media platform to express the state of barbarism that had engulfed Cameroon. He said that the images of savage torture are reminiscent of the horrific treatment meted out on a large scale to the CRM activists. Human rights groups are also accusing the nonagenarian head of state of cracking down on opposition ahead of next year's presidential elections. Several leaders have called on President Biya to seek another term, while Longu Longu has promised to file legal complaints in both Cameroon and France, where he is now living. It is yet to be known who exactly was responsible for the torture and whether they would be held accountable for their actions or not. And that's it on the show for today. We will see you again at the same time on Monday. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend and goodbye.